You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't talk to niggas. You know, this nigga Earl told me yesterday, he said, give Bronny James 2 seasons, he gonna average 20. I said, nigga, 20 what? Percent from the field, nigga? Yo, Steve, hey, my boy, I got some news. Hey, baby, check this out. Don Lemon got the new network, right? I know somebody that work over there. Don't ask how or who, but I know somebody that work over there. They looking for an associate producer. You're some kind of associate. I honestly don't know what you do here, but other than go to the bathroom or to the parking lot, get lost. It don't matter, okay? I put in the word for you, my boy. You in there? You in there, dog? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All you gotta do is nail the interview, okay? All you gotta do is nail the interview. Man, I'm excited, man. For you. Excited for you. This is a big opportunity, and the money? Way more than I could ever pay you. Just nail the interview, Steve. We'll talk about it on the break. Yes. Yes. You see, Clyde? You stay positive, and everybody gets what they want. Oh, man, things are looking up. All right. Put me on. UBTV, and we back with the Trump card almost assassination special report. Special motherfucking report, nigga. White boy on the roof with a chopper. 10,000 secret agents won't stop you. Blah! That was bucking at Daddy Trump from the roof, boy. And I know right now, a lot of niggas is mad. A lot of niggas is furious that they actually didn't kill him. And that's not weird at all. It's not weird that you're mad that Trump didn't die.
No, not weird at all.
The weird part is that the very same people who used to call you a conspiracy theorist 2 and 3 years ago are now floating the most asinine conspiracies out there in the mainstream media. Wow. What a time to be alive.
They shot at Trump. Almost died.
So in this almost assassination special report, we investigate some of the top conspiracies surrounding this botched hit, or as some people would call, fake hit. But before that, I need my motherfucking props. Because depending on how long you have been following me, I called this Trump botched assassination at least 8 years ago. Who remembers this video?
Ulysses Brandywine here for Cone Vision News. Breaking story out of Memphis. Donald Trump has been shot today at a rally in Memphis after a Black Lives Matter protester pulled out an AR-15 and started firing at the stage. And as he was firing, he called the local authorities and stated that Black Lives Matter and ISIS have teamed up to kill white people, gays, cops, babies, and puppies. He also pledged his allegiance to Farrakhan and Sinetta. That's my nigga too. The police quickly reacted when they sent in a Zumba with a bomb. Fuck you, people. Unfortunately, 5,000 people have been killed, which makes Black Lives Matter responsible for the largest massacre in U.S. history since white people. We'll be back with more information as the story develops.
Yeah, I know some of the details may differ. The shooter in my video was a disgruntled Black Lives Matter supporter. And it happened in Memphis instead of Pennsylvania. The Black Lives Matter supporter was an MO back then, but now it's the lone gunman. The same MO they already used. I was trying to be creative, a Black Lives Matter supporter. I'm still waiting on the black terrorist, the Moorish terrorist, the Hebrew Israelite terrorist. It's coming. And just remember that. Just like, hopefully you remember this video if you were following me then. And yes, of course, there's some elements that were missed, but the shooter on Trump not being assassinated, just shot, the fact that it was an AR-15, all things that kind of fit the general premise of what we just saw last week. All I'm saying is sometimes, maybe half the time, maybe once in a while, maybe once ever, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And, there's a receipt. Details are still coming out. by the hour. It's still a developing story. So even perhaps Sonetter could be involved.
He also pledged his allegiance to Farrakhan, that's my nigga, and Sonetter, that's my nigga too.
Maybe Farrakhan. Still can't figure out Israel's role, but they fit in there some way. Just hadn't figured it out yet. And just like I said, well, we can look forward to the Hebrew Israelite terrorist, the Moorish terrorist, maybe even the indigenous terrorist.
Oh shit!
In this Trump card almost assassination special report, we investigate some of the top conspiracies surrounding this Trump almost botched hit fake assassination. And coming up next, who is Thomas Crooks? What was his motive? And was he really a lone gunman? I mean, really? Was the nigga working alone? We investigate. Coming up next.
As I take every step, I can see
Everything we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look,
And it's
there
not
he is.
easy because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We have the strongest border ever. In recorded history, we're the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring, I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit over that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that says,
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
Mike, earlier today, FBI agents spoke to people inside the Crooks home here in Bethel Park. Then they fanned out and tried to talk to neighbors, all in an effort to find out what we all want to know. What motivated this young man to try to kill the president?
He was like a quiet kid. He stayed to himself, didn't really talk to anyone.
Thomas Crooks.
This is Thomas Crooks at his graduation from Bethel Park High in 2022. He was an AP student who won a $500 prize for math and science achievement. Later, he worked at a nursing home. Neighbors cannot understand how he went from that kid to the one who allegedly fired multiple shots at former President Trump, wounding him and killing a bystander.
I regularly would see him walking the neighborhood. Just kind of seemed like a quiet, normal kid walking, with his headphones on.
Crooks did join the Clairton Sportsman's Club. Sources tell ABC he would borrow his father's AR-15 rifle to do target shooting there. But investigators are struggling to understand what motivated Crooks. He left few clues on social media. Records show he donated $15 to a pro-Democrat political action committee in January 2021, the same day President Biden was inaugurated. But later that year, he registered to vote as a Republican. Neighbors say they saw pro-Trump signs in his yard.
Absolutely, there was for a while. There hasn't been for the last few months, but there absolutely was MAGA supporting things for a while.
Sources tell ABC News the morning of Trump's rally, Crooks told his father he was taking the AR-15 to a shooting range. Now, I spoke earlier today with the owner of Allegheny Arms. That's a gun store here in Bethel Park, not far from the Crooks' home. He told me they did not sell a weapon to Crooks or his family, but he declined to say whether they sold Crooks any ammunition.
He gonna wear this ear bandage till November. Trust me, he gonna get a full run out this motherfucker. Everybody gonna jump on that bandwagon too.
Yo, that was a big mistake. Stay away from him, man.
Thomas Matthew Crooks. Who is this little nigga? This little moon-faced little nigga. He look like the nigga on The Mask. You know the nigga who had that disease, the movie with Cher? He kind of looked like that nigga, don't he? Now, according to the media, this kid was supposed to be a loner. Not a lot of friends. You know, they try to dig into his past. And I think it's interesting that the FBI couldn't break his phone immediately. They had to go to Quantico. I wonder what kind of phone it was. Was it an Android? Was it an Apple? The FBI couldn't break it. They had to take the phone to Quantico. I wonder why that is. But anyway, according to the media, kid was a loner. His family was a family of loners. And, you know, he just happened to look like the moon-faced nigger from The Mask. But the real question is, when they start asking, like, what were his activities? The FBI has no idea. They say he donated to a Democratic political organization, yet he was a registered Republican. But he's 20 years old. So he didn't even vote in the last election. Anyway, another interesting tidbit that I found peculiar was the fact that the media said that he was an AP science and math student and had won an award. But he went to a community college and he was working at a nursing home. So one would ask, like, if he's an AP math and science student, why wasn't he at Stanford?
6'4". I go to Stanford University. I have a 10-inch penis and 6'4". I go to Stanford University.
But he didn't go to Stanford. He went to community college. But he was an AP science and math student. So was he robbed of some sort of opportunity? Did he have some sort of opportunity? Would this lack of opportunity contribute to some level of frustration? And he somehow blamed Trump for this lack of opportunity, which seems to be a stretch. I think the idea being put forth by the mainstream media now that the kid is a loner is almost meant to deflect from the fact that the FBI can't find a motive. So they're using this whole, he's a loner, he doesn't have any friends, he hates the world kind of idea of his personality to, I guess, fabricate a motive. Why hasn't the FBI found anything in his phone? That's the real question. He didn't talk to anyone about this. How was he to know to climb that tower? How would he know that the tower was not going to be secure? He obviously thought he was going on a suicide mission. I mean, if you try to kill a presidential candidate and you climb up on the top of an isolated tower in the middle of an event that's supposed to be secured by the Secret Service, how did you even know you could do that? Don't you think he would have known that he couldn't even pull this stunt off? Yet he did at 20 years old. A 20-year-old pulled this stunt off. A 20-year-old beat the Secret Service, beat local police. Beat the FBI, beat the CIA. How plausible is this? I ask again, why couldn't the FBI break into his phone? Why did his phone have to be taken to Quantico? Do you think it's even possible that there was any FBI contacts in his past history, in his past communication history? Do you think any of those numbers or those text messages came from an FBI contact? You know, like one of those secret informants, you know, those secret informants that take loners and kids with no friends and radicalize them in order to do what? Commit acts of domestic terrorism. You're asking the wrong questions. The first question we should always ask when it comes to something like this, when there's a domestic shooter, the first question we should ask is, have they had any contact with any Homeland Security or CIA or FBI? Because when we're talking about these political assassinations, somehow the government is always involved. Somehow the FBI is always involved. Somehow the CIA is often involved. But we're not asking those questions. We're just saying, oh, how did they allow this to happen? You know, it's funny. The FBI doesn't really share the blame, even though they're on the investigation. You know, the investigation's been handed over to the FBI, right? Conveniently. Even though this was what we call it, a botch of the Secret Service. This was a mistake of the Secret Service. But the Secret Service no longer handles the investigation. The FBI handles the investigation. You mean the same people who are behind all types of assassinations? All types of plots against the American public? You know, the same people who radicalize these weirdos to commit these domestic terrorism acts? This isn't the first time it's happened. I was watching an interview with Robert Kennedy Jr., and even he said that during his dying days, he was trying to get Sirhan Sirhan, the guy who is blamed for killing his father, right? His Bobby Kennedy, his father, JFK's brother. Okay, so RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr. In this interview, he says that in his dying days, he was trying to get Sirhan Sirhan off, the guy who was accused of killing his father, because he knew that Sirhan Sirhan wasn't the killer. Now think about this. Now he served his entire life as the killer of Bobby Kennedy, yet Bob Kennedy Jr. doesn't even believe that. According to him, according to Robert Kennedy Jr., his father was shot in the back 4 times. And Sirhan Sirhan was being accosted by some members of security staff. So during the time that Bobby Kennedy was shot, Sirhan Sirhan was in front of him, and they were fighting for the gun, apparently, that went off. And Bobby Kennedy was shot from the back. And this is according to RFK Jr. So even the idea that these assassinations are 100% as the media says they are complete fabrications. And this goes along with asking the wrong questions like, how did he get on top of the building? And how would he know that the building was free? Once he was spotted by the crowd 2 minutes before the shots went off, why wasn't Trump moved? Okay, they couldn't move him in the first 10 seconds. They couldn't move him in 20 seconds. They couldn't move him in 30 seconds. They couldn't move him in 40 seconds. Hey, it's time to get Trump off the stage. Hey, it's time to get Trump off the stage. So you mean to tell me the same cop that said he ducked when he climbed up the top of the building, at that point, they didn't say, hey, let's get him off the stage. Hey, let's get him off the stage. They just let him stay there? You think this was so set up by the Trump camp? Like, oh yeah, Trump set this up to get almost assassinated, to make himself look like a hero. You're asking the wrong questions. How did he climb the building that was full of cops? See, the same building that the guy shot from, there were police inside the building. And still, Trump is on stage. When people see the guy, it's at least 2 minutes before the shots went off. Trump is still on the stage. Why is Trump still on the stage? And so now they can funnel all of the motive into some loner kid who obviously doesn't communicate with anyone, apparently. So now they can funnel all the blame into the loner kid. We don't know exactly why he did this. We don't know his motive. The woman, Jessica, whatever her name is, the woman in his neighborhood said that, yeah, they used to be MAGA people. They used to have MAGA signs in their yard. So that all of a sudden he was anti-MAGA. And it's like, hey, I'm going to go kill Trump. He didn't talk to anyone about this. He didn't have a manifesto, right? He didn't write it down in a notebook. A lot of these killers, if they're legit, they at least have a manifesto. If this happens to me, this is what I want people to know. Now, this kid seems to be the type of kid that if he was going to assassinate Donald Trump, he would have had a manifesto. Don't he look like, manifesto face ass nigga? I bet you that nigga would write a hell of a manifesto. But what do we get? Nothing. He was watching a YouTube channel, a pro-gun YouTube channel. You see where this is going? How did this kid get this gun? He got it from his dad. What kind of gun was it? An AR.
Donald Trump has been shot today at a rally in Memphis after a Black Lives Matter protester pulled out an AR-15 and started firing at the stage. And as he was firing, he called the local authorities and stated that Black Lives Matter and ISIS have teamed up to kill white people, gays, cops, babies, and puppies.
Why was his phone taken to Quantico? Why couldn't the FBI break into his phone? Did he have some super encrypted phone? Was it an Android, an iPhone? Was it some Huawei, some off-brand Chinese phone? What did he have? What kind of phone did he use? So we can't immediately break it. We need to take it to Quantico. Now, is there a possibility that there was an FBI contact in the phone and now the contacts that are connected to the FBI have now been scrubbed? Who else has access to his phone? So when the FBI finally broke into his phone, what was there? Did we get to see that? I wonder how much information was either scrubbed or whenever it drops on FOI, I wonder how much will be redacted. Now, if there's nothing in his phone, there should be nothing redacted. So the assumption here is that the information would be scrubbed. But hey, the FBI couldn't break into, the kid's cell phone. And then when they broke into it, he wasn't talking to anybody about anything. He just followed a pro-gun YouTube channel, had no friends, had no contacts, decided to master plan an assassination of Donald Trump on his own. Scaled a building full of cops, surrounded by cops and Secret Service agents with a fucking rifle, my nigga. How? How did anybody get within 200 yards of Donald Trump with a fucking slingshot, my G?
The head of the Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, saying law enforcement officers were stationed inside the same building where Trump's would-be assassin climbed onto the roof and opened fire.
There was local police in that building. There was local police in the area that were responsible for the outer perimeter of the building. I'm being told that the shooter was actually identified as a potential person of suspicion.
You could look at her as the person taking the fall. Because it doesn't even seem like she really knew what was going on out there. Now, that's an issue in itself, but I mean, the director of the Secret Service is over all the politicians. So maybe she wasn't there. Maybe she wasn't privy to the schematics. But somebody under her ran the show. And she's got to fall on that sword now. So whether or not she's actually responsible, she's got to claim responsibility. I'm saying all that to say, maybe she's the fall girl.
Person of suspicion. And so the local police department actually put a call out.
Officers responded, but were not able to stop the gunman in time. The local sheriff defending his team, telling ABC News each department had been given specific assignments and they carried them out.
The deputies under my control did their job.
They're all huddled in the building and the shooters on the roof. But it wasn't their responsibility. Like, hey, our job's done here. Everybody files in and, we work for about 20 minutes on this event and then we come back around and we work during the let out. I'm staying at the edge of the parking lot with my gear on, with my lights on. That's all they were there to do. We don't really secure the president. We're just there. You guys are the real cops, Secret Service agents.
The deputies under my control did their job and went above and beyond after the shooting stopped and the chaos began.
In fairness, nobody wanted something like this to happen, and many of the police performed heroically. But the fact remains, we still do not have a clear answer as to why and how that young killer was able to get on that roof and fire away, George.
Pierre Thomas, thanks.
Oh, shit. Pierre Thomas, that nigga used to play for the Saints. Damn, and that nigga went and got a Hitler mustache. This nigga looked like the Black Monopoly Hitler. I've seen these videos where people are, they've got the still shot and they're looking at people in the back and they're looking at people pull out their phones. Hey, look at this guy. Look at his reaction. Look at his reaction. Oh, this is fake. Oh, this is fake. Okay. I hear people say, oh, the assassination was staged. Well, tell me how it was staged. Who staged it? Who staged it? Of course, all assassinations are staged, but I need you to be more specific. Who staged it? Well, Donald Trump, he staged the assassination of himself. He staged a fake assassination to make him look like a hero. Why would he have to do that? Joe Biden's own party is ready to drop him. Joe Biden's party is ready to fucking cut him loose. And then next thing you know, Donald Trump almost gets assassinated. Usually when something like this happens, especially in politics, the first suspect is the political opponent. But you guys don't even think Joe Biden's capable of holding this type of water. Joe Biden couldn't assassinate anybody. Look at him. But if Joe Biden took that same bullet in the ear, well, he might bleed out. But if Joe Biden took that same bullet in the ear, all fingers would point at Donald Trump. This loner, with no friends, 20 years old, hasn't even really voted for a president yet, decides he wants to kill the president. And he runs up in Secret Service Central, Jake Central, full of cops, full of agents, climbs a building in the middle of a crowd with witnesses to behold, with witnesses able to pull out their cell phones. The witnesses spotted the shooter before the niggas with the scopes on their guns did. Make it make sense. Whose fault is it? They say, well, there were police there. They're trying to blame the police. Well, the police blame the Secret Service. The police say that they did everything they were told to do. Is it the police's responsibility to protect the candidate, or is it the Secret Service's responsibility to protect the candidate? So then the question is, oh, okay, well, is this just a Secret Service lapse, or is this intentional? And the easiest person to put it on is the young 20-year-old patsy. The patsy. That's the first thing we should always think when something like this happens, is that this patsy, who they put it on, was really involved in a deeper plot. Or, maybe it was just a plot to fake assassinate someone to make him look stronger. Like, your premise is trash, my nigga. That don't even make sense. Just don't make sense. Joe Biden is about to get booted by his own party. And then Trump gets fake assassinated. You niggas are a special kind of retarded.
Was more staged than a Tyler Perry production of Medea Runs for President. This was, I believe, done to try to show his strength counter to Biden's fragility.
I see your little videos over here fishing for conspiracy in the background, looking at who's pulling out their camera phone. Oh, look at her. She pulled out her phone. Oh, look at this agent. It took him 2 seconds to run up. Nigga, you asking the wrong motherfucking questions. Oh, well, if there was a shooting, why would you pull out your camera phone, nigga? Because you don't know. The cameraman never dies. The smartest thing you can do when shit like this go down is pull out your phone because the cameraman never dies. But you niggas don't know that because you ain't really up on conspiracies like that. Just a bunch of tag-along twats posting whatever you see on Baller Alert. I get my information from Amanda Seals. Face-ass niggas. I can't stand for a sheep, a motherfucking fluorinated, calcified, goofy-ass, sheeple-ass person to tell me about a fucking conspiracy. Nigga, shut the fuck up and drink your smart water, genius. Stay woke, nigga.
The FBI and U.S. Department of Homeland Security are warning there could be follow-up attacks after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump last week. In a joint bulletin, the agencies noted chatter in some online communities, either threatening or encouraging violent follow-up attacks. Officials fear other campaign events could also be targeted throughout the election season. Authorities are also concerned about hoax bomb threats, reports of fake crimes to trigger a law enforcement response, or doxing of election officials in an attempt to disrupt political rallies and events. And we are learning more about what the shooter did in the days leading up to Donald Trump's rally. Officials say Thomas Matthew Crooks requested Saturday off from his job at a nursing home because he, quote, had something to do. Crooks told his co-workers he'd be back the following day.
10,000 secret agents won't stop. Fuck. And hit him with the fuck. Yeah, and then, because he went to the range, he went to the shooting range the day before. Got my vision from the range, and it ain't blurry. 150 yards, nigga, step, Kurt. That's it, my nigga. Woo, boy. Hey, boy, that shit hard as fuck, boy. Steve, come here, man.
I teach AP and honors economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do. I hope when I retire someday, they say that guy made this place a special place to come to school.
There have been other conspiratorial theories being floated around, like the BlackRock conspiracy or some commercial entity outside of the government is also somewhat in play. Now, the reason Blackwater jumps out is because Crooks shows up in a video sponsored by BlackRock. So could BlackRock have recruited this kid to be some secret assassin for their who knows agenda? When we're talking about these billion and trillion dollar corporations, we don't really know the fuckery that really goes on behind the scene. But you think about these billion and trillion dollar companies like BlackRock or Apple or any of the Vanguard investment groups. When we think about these companies, we think that they're just reputable companies and they don't have any sort of history of violence. But is that necessarily true? Do you believe that any of these companies have never used violence to achieve an end to their means? Do you? Do you believe that BlackRock or Apple or Vanguard or any of these huge companies, even Google, you don't think that they've ever used violence to achieve an ends to their means? These billion-dollar niggas play different games. They hire people to do their dirty work. And when they do, best believe, well, most of the time, it's somebody with federal ties. So could an unknown business-related suspect be a part of this whole scheme? I wouldn't say it's impossible or out of play. On the surface, it appears that we have all of these different players, but you know how things happen. What about behind the surface? What about behind the curtain? Who's pulling the strings? Is a person at the top of one of these trillion-dollar corporations, do they have some power within inside the government or government institutions to be able to make calls or control moving parts? It's definitely in play. That possibility is definitely in play.
Where'd the blood come from?
So when you say Trump staged an almost assassination of himself, what you're really saying is that the FBI, CIA, and Secret Service were not involved, because you can't say both. Are you saying that Trump staged an almost assassination of himself with the help of the Secret Service, FBI, and CIA? How does that work? I understand if you're not smart enough to realize how retarded that sounds, so let me explain. If the agencies are involved, that supersedes Trump's power. So now you're saying that Trump personally has the power to manipulate all of these agencies for his own personal gain, to make himself look like a hero and become president. And for a man who can't even win a petty court case, that theory is Stretch Armstrong. Just admit that you hate Trump and you wish they would have shot him in his fuck face, so all you and your little friends can go outside and dance in the summer rain like Carl Thomas. But since he wasn't killed, now you concoct outlandish conspiracies to mask your disappointment in the fact that he wasn't murdered.
Where'd the blood come from?
It's totally normal. Not weird or sick at all. Oh, the way people would have rejoiced at the death of Donald Trump. Niggas would have actually had Trump as dead parties, and them shits would have been popping.
Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, nigga, fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, fuck Donald Trump.
Because plenty of people want to see Trump dead, but apparently no one actually wants to kill him, though. He only wants to fake almost kill himself, apparently. But let's just say I buy your premise, and this was all set up by Trump, and he's behind the manipulation of all these agencies and the media. Let's just say I buy that premise. Well, if that's the case, he has pulled off the greatest single play in world history. If he manipulated this and controlled all these parts, nigga just pulled off a hella play. Now that's the nigga you want for president. And regardless, after he pulled this play off with this fake assassination, almost botched attempt of himself, once he pulled that play off, the nigga is stamped and certified. I mean, nigga, if you truly believe Trump's behind all this, we know Joe Biden couldn't pull this shit off.
Come on, man. Why the hell would I take a test?
Wouldn't you rather have a president who's capable of pulling off this kind of move? But let's be honest here. This whole assassination attempt is far beyond the scope of Donald Trump's power. It is above him. So whatever secret hand is at play, Trump is not in control of it. Or if he is, the nigga just pulled the greatest play in world history. Either way, you're wrong.
Morgan Freebands.
White boy on the roof with the chopper. 2,000 secret agents couldn't stop ya. Got my vision from the range and it ain't blurry. 150-yard nigga Steph Curry. White boy on the roof with the chopper. 2,000 secret agents couldn't stop ya. Got my vision from the range and it ain't blurry. 150-yard nigga Steph Curry.
Free bands, free bands, free bands, free bands, free bands, free bands, free bands.
Like, let's be real. What do you think Trump is thinking right now? Because he knows that the Secret Service almost let him get assassinated. He on that Boosie shit. He don't trust nobody. He don't trust the FBI. He don't trust the CIA. He don't trust the Secret Service. Trust nobody.
Don't even trust your mom.
Trust nobody. This nigga might hire his own security. This nigga might hire FOI. And I ain't talking about freedom of information neither, nigga. I'm talking about fruit of Islam. And if you do that, if that nigga hire FOI, we will clearly see how Farrakhan was behind this whole thing the entire time.
He also pledged his allegiance to Farrakhan and Sinetta. The police.
All right. Steve, come here. Come here. I wrote you a glowing letter of recommendation. And, I was just in the letter saying that, you are our strongest advocate for, gay rights, LGBT rights, transgender in sports, and pedo rights. And I think that these are the things that make you an excellent candidate for that job. So, man, I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. And you're gonna nail the interview, man. And here's the letter.
He served in the Secret Service from 1976 to 2001 and worked similar political rallies. He says this shooting shouldn't have happened.
I immediately knew the problem had to arise with the person that did the advance work.
The Secret Service goes to sites like this ahead of an event to evaluate potential risks. And he says the building should have been identified and secured.
But I think because the highest place at that site was the place where the shooter was. It'd been an ideal place for the counter-assault team. They should have been on that building.
When you think about it, I think one of the more plausible explanations is that the government tried to assassinate Trump. But if the government wanted to kill Trump, wouldn't he be dead? If the government wanted to kill Trump, why would they send this guy? A 20-year-old kid with a bad shot. According to his high school rifle instructor, the kid had no aim. Maybe he lied on his hitman resume, told them niggas he was Steph Curry, he was more like Westbrook. Maybe the little nigga buckled under pressure. Shooting at the range ain't the same as a game time situation. Nigga was up there on that hot ass roof, balls was sweating. Shit. Little nigga probably just crashed out, started bucking bystanders, buckled under the pressure.
And he had a gun, right? He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. Police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
Maybe he was a lone shooter. Or maybe someone told him exactly where to be. Maybe someone told him that building would not be secure. Maybe someone told him to get on the roof and position himself exactly where he did. Is it possible that this kid was being fed information from somebody somewhere? And if this is true, that this kid was being fed information from somebody somewhere, who was it? Was it an individual? Or was this individual part of a more devious, secretive plan? Just saying that the government wanted to assassinate Trump may be a little too general. It would be more accurate to say that there is a secret hand within governmental agencies or in control of moving parts within those governmental agencies that was suspiciously negligent in securing the former president. Or maybe they were purposefully negligent. And this points to a larger conspiracy. Because the real question is, was it a security lapse? Did they just drop the ball? Or was that lapse intentional? And all signs point to an intentional lapse, unless you just believe that these agencies are really that lazy.
We have learned from law enforcement sources that there was a sniper team actually inside of the complex where the shooter Crooks was on top of the roof. But these snipers, they were actually looking through second-story windows towards the crowd, not actually on what was happening above them on the roof. This comes as Secret Service told us that they were not responsible for sweeping and clearing the area that contained this particular building because it was outside of the perimeter that they were focused on where the Trump campaign event was happening. The Secret Service said that was was law enforcement's responsibility. However, we have heard from a number of local law enforcement agencies here in this particular area, including the Pennsylvania State Police, who not only said that they gave Secret Service all of the resources that they asked for, but specifically said in these types of situations, during these types of events, Secret Service is the lead agency. Then, 48 hours after the shooting on Saturday evening, we finally heard the first comments on the record in a media interview from the director of the Secret Service, who said explicitly, "The buck stops with me." So it's unclear if we're going to see more back and forth between local law enforcement and between Secret Service, but we still don't have an answer to the question of why that particular roof was left unattended.
Thanks for joining me on this Trump card almost assassination special report. Now, I'm not sitting here caping up for Trump. Y'all know I don't trust that nigga. At least you should know that I don't trust that nigga. I don't trust none of these niggas. But the general public's sheer hatred for one man has driven them to retarded levels of asinine speculation. The general public's hatred for one man has blinded them to the overall fuckery that runs amok in every institution in the government. It should be obvious that they let something happen in front of everybody's face. And if anything, this event should go to show you that Donald Trump is not in control of a damn thing. But we all know who is. Until next time, I'll holler at y'all. Shalom.
That yes, there was a real gun, real shots. It's a real mess. And for those of y'all who don't get it, I said this before, so maybe you missed the message. I close the comments on my political posts. Like, that's not because I'm scared of y'all, it's because I don't like a lot of y'all.
The feeling's mutual.